So I was looking at all my scrapped videos on an external hard drive one day, and I saw a three-part series that I abandoned that I made back in 2022, I think. That's why my voice is so high-pitched. Basically, it was me making a platformer in Scratch. It was more advanced than any other project I've made. I just wanted to like record the process, but never ended up actually like get editing and posting it, so I thought I'd just do that now, like nearly 3 years later. So yeah, enjoy the recording highlights. Also, sorry if parts of the recording sound like they were recorded underwater. I don't know. The mic I had at the time really struggled with that problem. Hopefully it doesn't take away from the experience, but I I'm lazy. I don't feel like editing that part out. So as you can see, we are just here. Now we're gonna go to my stuff. Probably like inhibiting the performance of my computer by a long shot. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna be working on this project. Yeah, it's really buggy right now, so I don't think I'm necessarily gonna have a scrolling platformer. Yeah, if it's on Scratch, it's definitely not going to be a scrolling platformer. It's just too demanding at the moment for me to make scrolling platformers in Scratch. Unity, making a scrolling platform in Unity is going to be the default. It's so much easier to make a scroller platformer in Unity than it is in Scratch. Just gotta get rid of this, keep the continuum, and the old go to XY. In Unity, we actually have a camera, like a dedicated camera, that is an actual object of the hierarchy that we can move. But Scratch doesn't have that. We have to kind of have a makeshift camera of sorts. It's not really a camera, it's a faux camera, a camera variable. And you have to move all the other objects around it rather than moving the object itself. So that's why it's really demanding and really not worth that much of my time to be making a scrolling platformer. I'm just gonna be making a regular platformer just to get back in the groove. And let's see, does the collision still work? Yep, the collision works like a treat. That's nice. And the background working like usual. We can just group the ground. And let's make the objects now. It's gonna go back to another project that I have. This project, how long has it been recording for? Nah, it doesn't matter. As long as it hits like the 10-minute marker, it doesn't go too long, it should be fine. So I'm just going to get a little block from here. Actually, I should just already have the block, right? Because I used the block to make the ground object, so I should be fine. I'll rename this to objects. I'll probably have to rename it to blocks or something later because of the way Scratch handles clone collisions. Block 1. This code thousands of times. Create object X, Y. Size, trans, dir. I can create all of those parameters. It's basically ingrained in me at this point. ID and level. It's basically ingrained in me at this point. So show what? Okay, there. Show and hide and create clone of myself. And
make new variables for x, y. This is really tedious. So yeah, dir, id, and level. Switch them all to be for the sprite only, for the sprite only, for the sprite only, and so on and so forth. And then we're just going to assign the variables to each of the inputs, each of the arguments. There are 7 variables in here. So we need 7 arguments in here, so we need 7 variable slots. This is for y, this is for size, this is for trans, this is for dir, this is for id, and this is for level. Okay, we're just going to switch them to all the inputs, dir, id, and level. And the when I start as a clone, we're going to put a forever loop. We're going to put a go to. We're going to put a set size to, a set ghost effect to, a direction, a switch costume to, and we're going to wrap that in an if else. We're going to make a new costume, which is just going to be a blanker costume, just completely blank with no name. We're going to make a new global variable called level. We're going to say if level equals level. If level equals private variable level we have here, then switch costume to ID. Else just switch costume to the blank. This object, it's gonna be a bit smaller actually, to fit the size of what the ground would be. The ground blocks, I mean. That's a pretty good size, wouldn't you say? Yep. And also that's a good position, -53. So create object that goes at 20 and -53, size of 100, trans of 0, and dir of 90, ID of 1, and level of 1. Here we're going to set level to 1 in the init reset. We'll set level to 1. We're going to make a new broadcast message called init setup, and we're going to put that underneath init setup. So like, we're going to put when I receive and reset level to 1, and then init setup. So here, I'll put it here. Receive init setup, but that is where we're going to set up for the game loops. And make these 2 broadcast and waits. And that's how we do it. So over here. So here we can say when I receive init setup, I'm just going to move it here. So you can see it's not working. Why is that? Oh, yeah, it's because we didn't put the inputs, of course. X, Y, dir, size, Oops, wrong size. Size, trans, and that should work now. So as you can see, we got it. It's a bit too too right. Right, maybe 17. It feels so negative 51 maybe? So negative 52? Yeah, that's good. Now, what's the width of this? The width of this is 32 by 32. So 17 plus 32 times 1. 17 plus 32 times 2 and 32 times 3. You get 4 blocks. Okay. Those blocks are a bit too small for my liking, I feel. I'm just gonna make a block size variable. Global. Just gonna put the block size here, 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 and here. And just set the block size to a value. Because I feel like it should be pretty consistent in these early stages at least. 120? That's too big. 110 maybe? It might be 32. Okay. We want to divide the block size by 100 to get the scaling factor. And then we want to multiply it by 32. So yeah, still that's really small. Let's try 105. This is all just trial and error, these things. Okay, not terrible, not terrible, I will admit. 108 maybe? Getting closer, getting closer. Nice, nice. I like it. I really do like it.
So for this part of the video, I forgot to record my mic, so I'll just be providing some commentary on top of the video. It's been a while since I've seen this program, this game, um, so it's gonna be a lot of rambling. You're gonna see less scripted because I literally don't have a script for this. It seems like I went back to the platformer script. I'll try not to commentate too much. Okay, so it looks like I'm making this check collision script, which it was a total failure. I'm never trying that again. See, what I was originally gonna do was, um, so I saw in that one Griff Patch video where he had check collide, so like check multiple sprite collisions at once with just one and statement and a bunch of touching blocks, or not an and, sorry, an or statement. So like basically, if you touch any surface, you can set one collision variable to true, and you could just check if that collision is true throughout. But it didn't end up working because for some reason the touching boolean in Scratch works different from just normal operator booleans, like collision equals true or collision equals 1. So you may be wondering why I was using this check collide block. Seems needlessly complicated, but really it makes sense because look at the two sprites I have that need to be collidable. They're two sprites, that's the whole point. I have level and I have objects. So, instead of moving the level over to the object sprite to make the entire level be constructed in the objects like a normal person, I decided to go the more needlessly complicated approach. When I easily could have just made a ground costume in the object sprite. Not even that, like the ground, like look at the ground. It's literally just a bunch of blocks stacked together, well, stacked next to each other, and just a design for the bottom of it. You're saying I couldn't recreate that with the object sprite? And yeah, you can see the failure unfolding right in front of you. Like you can see how many tests. Yeah, that's what happens when you. I don't know why. The discrepancy between different types of booleans scratch, but yeah, never trying that again ever. So you can see the transition here, because I realized the utter failure of check collide. I just copy pasted every single instance of collision equals 1 to touching level or touching objects, and bye bye, check collide method. Weird bug happening. Jeez, that's a shocker. It was literally as simple as repeat until not touching level. So clearly what happened is I accidentally put the touching level and touching objects over the not block instead of inside the not block. And you can see it works like a treat. Um, Collisions work like a charm. Now we're going back into the hazard sprite. Some more hazard antics. So actually, the create object custom block you have up there, that's called a constructor. And we're basically creating an instance, instantiating it with all these parameters. Little fun factoid of the day. Ah, I see what we're doing. So I believe this is called parenting. Except no, it isn't, because we're not parenting anything. What we're doing is setting an anchor position that all the other objects um, refer to in order to position themselves. So yeah, parenting. So basically, the parent object in this case is invisible. It's an invisible block. Not really invisible, it's just um, an inferred block that has x coordinate and y coordinate of the capital variables you see there. And all the child objects are all the instances that refer to the capital variables. And we're making more capital variables. See, what's funny is when I actually made this, I didn't know anything about parenting um, when it comes to animation. I knew the basics of prefabbing, but nothing like it was all very surface level. And you can see I was testing out if it worked, and it did. You can see the block moved there if you changed that multiplier. And now what I could do is add a counter and then a repeat loop, or yeah, I mean fill in all parameters with that. I think what I did was um I either used a list and treated that as a save code of sorts, or I put in a repeat loop. I remember doing both, weirdly, because what you can do with this system is you can read all the values from a list and interpret that. So yeah, the reason why I'm speeding up this portion of the video is because it's all pretty self-explanatory. It's what I basically just said. I made the list, um, uh, but first I just added like a few tile variables, and then immediately like deleted them straight after. But yeah, basically what I'm doing is I'm prepping this up for, making a list, and then that list containing all the properties of each block. So like I have like 7 parameters, 7 different properties or something. However many properties I had. So here's how it's gonna work, and I might not explain this the best, but basically every 7 elements in the list is going to be a set of parameters for one object. So like one object is represented by 7 rows in this list, and then two objects is represented by 14 rows. The properties are like X position, Y position, rotation, scale, transparency or alpha, direction, color, that sort of thing. And because there are 7 properties per item, I have to get a loop, a reset loop that, did I just say reset loop? I meant repeat loop. Yeah, I get a repeat loop with a counter that actually increments by 7 or however many properties there are, so that it skips 7 and gets to the next object. Because, like I said before, each object is represented by 7 rows in the list. You can see that's what I'm doing here. I'm repeating the length of the level data. I might actually have to, um, oh, actually, um, yeah, no, I might actually have to repeat the length of the level data divided by a certain value, which is what you see here. I divided it by the amount of objects we have, and you can see also I'm changing the counter I by that same amount as well. And yeah, you can see it works. And you know, the best part about this is that you can export this list to a TXT file, um, and it'll actually act as a functional save code. So that's pretty cool. It's not a very good save code, mind you. There's a lot of spaces. It's really hard to copy and paste, but you could theoretically do it. And this is like the simplest understanding of a save file, without like all the complicated delimiters and different base number systems and stuff. I'm not even sure what the letters are for. Maybe they're for representing different things. So as you can see, this is the final product after all that code restructuring. Again, I sped up the video by uh, double speed, 2x. I'm adding, what other features I'm adding? I think I'm adding spikes, right? Yeah, I'm adding spikes. You can see I'm going to another project just to get these spike designs. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to commentate on here since it's basically like similar uh, to what I did before. I just made another sprite called Danger. The reason why I didn't put in the same as object sprite, which I just realized I've accidentally been calling them hazards all this times. I'm sorry about that. I meant objects. They're non-hazardous. So yeah, the reason why I'm not putting objects in the same sprite as Danger is because, I mean, the collisions, they get all sorts of wonky. They have different behavior. The blocks like to stand on them, and the danger, it kills you if you get near them. So um, the different collision behaviors, I tried to distinguish them all within one sprite. It failed miserably. Um, the only real solution to that is uh, putting the if touching, like putting the collision logic inside the object block. So like if touching player and its own ID is like enemy or something, then do a different behavior than if it's object. Uh, Weirdly enough, that actually works because the variable is actually, it's an attribute of that own sprite. And rookie mistake, you don't want to put general controls in multiple sprites because if you want to change them, um, you're gonna have to change them in all those areas, which is not ideal. So you can see here I did when T key pressed and when U key pressed to show and hide the data lists, level data. Yeah, and it works. And I just think it looks really funny with the spikes just inside the blocks. But I'm pretty sure I fixed it. I think I'm fixing it right now. I'm measuring, I'm determining all the data that needs to be. You can see it's right there. You can see that's a spike. and it's non-collidable at the moment, so man, how long do I have left? Oh, that is a lot left still. I don't think I had danger logic. That's what I'm making right now, because how can I have danger logic if I don't have a danger sprite? Yeah, it's not collidable. So I just like that one broadcast that's called Ultimate Game Loops. Nah, it's really meant to be like an overarching like game loop manager. I just didn't know what to name it at that time. Yeah, scale. I turned scale into a scale multiplier instead of a percentage. I tend to do that a lot with projects. It's just easier. And I guess the final thing I'm doing is making player platformer components. I'm assuming this is similar to the level data list, except it's all the stats of the player, like the velocity, the direction, the gravity, move speed, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like like that's literally it. Like there's nothing else. Like this is where I end the project. Like I straight up abandoned the project after this. So yeah, that was me making this weird little platformer side project. Uh, a real video coming soon, I promise. I just have a lot on my plate right now, but work has honestly not been that bad. I think I'll get like a video out by mid-January, maybe end of January, but no promises, but I promise I will upload like an actual video soon.